It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. We are delighted you are joining us. Now, you know, what happens here on the program is we ask you to send us your questions, your financial questions, you know, could be taxes, retirement, education, whatever. And we answer those questions either via email or if you really are feeling a little bit more adventuresome, you say you want to come on the air live with us. And if that's the case, you send us a note with the question, say, I want to come on the air with you, and Mark will do the rest. So the email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com. That's askjill@jillonmoney.com. And we take the opportunity to try to bring you some cool guests. Why do I think it's important for you to hear these voices? Because sometimes they're inspirational. Sometimes they're subject matter experts. Sometimes they have a story that feels like maybe you could be part of a trajectory like they have created. And that is the case with our guest this hour. His name is Ilir Sela. He is the founder and CEO of a company named Slice. Now, he's going to tell you all about that and his background. But I think as you hear this, what I'd love for you to know is that this is somebody who did not have everything handed to him. This is somebody who created something from nothing. So here's the beginning of our interview with Ilir Sela. How'd you get into this? I mean, just because you like pizza, or what's the derivation of your love of the idea, and then how did the business form?
I love pizza. I come from 3 generations of small business owners in the pizza industry. I have about 30 family members that own pizzerias, across the country. And personally, I have a tech background, and I saw firsthand some of the challenges that they were facing, especially as some of the big chains started to really accelerate their performance by leveraging technology. And I felt that by bringing sort of that technology background forward, I can help the small business embrace that digital ecosystem and ultimately succeed. And so started by helping some family members with websites and online ordering. Fast forward to today, we work with 14,000 locations nationwide.
You know, it's so funny. I'm sure people are going to listen to this and say, oh, this just started because of the pandemic. But this is now a decade that you've been doing this. Tell us a little bit about how it started, and it did not begin as Slice. So talk about a little bit of the root of the business beginning.
Started the company in 2010 as mypizza.com. At the time, that was the domain name I was able to get. And that ended up being my brand for the first 6 years. Every independent pizzeria has basically operated almost the same way. And I felt that by uniting this local segment and all of these great entrepreneurs, by bringing them together, that we can all be in business for ourselves, not by ourselves, and realize the power of community. And that was way back in 2010.
Now, of course, there's a lot of family-owned businesses that are pizza, but I mean, obviously, a lot of smaller restaurants. We know that pizza sales have gone up during the pandemic. What is it about this particular category, pizza versus a diner, let's say? Why is it that this has become a category that has remained, even though there's big competition, but it has remained as standalone small business? What is it about that? Is it a low barrier to entry? It would seem to me that it's kind of expensive to get the pizza oven, but what is it beyond that makes it more of a small business owner category?
It has a number of really important qualities. One, pizza as a product is an American institution. It is a really high quality product. It is inexpensive. And remember, for most of the country, the average household income is about $48,000 a year. So for so many families, it is their night out in. And it travels really, really well. It's made for delivery. And so when you combine those things, it ends up becoming a very frequent experience. So the average American orders pizza once a week. And so because of that, you have over the decades, thousands of local businesses opening up in essence, in every neighborhood around the country. In fact, every neighborhood has a pizza shop. In fact, as more people have, unfortunately lost their jobs, have been impacted by the pandemic, more people are turning to this category as a way for, families to feed themselves on a budget.
Sounds like you're also doing a lot of back office stuff for your clients or your partners. Talk a little bit about what those services are and why are you able to deliver those services to this disparate 14,000 group of owners in a way that's affordable to them, but also gets the job done?
I see my family members. I know why they went into business. They went into business because they're really passionate about this pizza making craft and they want to earn a living. They want to control their own destiny. However, they did not go into a pizzeria business because they know marketing or understand technology or how to process payroll and file taxes. These are all chores, in essence, jobs to be done that they're not necessarily always qualified to do. And so what we really want to do is bring forward our expertise across these categories, allow the maker to focus on what they know best and what they do best, while also accelerating the probability of success. So that's at the core. The second sort of belief system we operate under is that by turning these independents into a community, so that instead of them working just alone, learning from each other and sharing some services and economies of scale, as we say, then we can lower the cost of operating the business. And by doing that, we can pass that value back to the consumer in the form of better prices for the pizza, better quality for the food, faster delivery, and that becomes a virtuous cycle for local. And these are things that big chains like Domino's have realized for multiple years.
It's interesting. I read that part of the services that you are providing, you're able to provide those services because you have some folks who are working overseas. So talk a little bit about what those people are doing and why does it make sense to hire someone outside of the United States to do some of the work that could be done here?
Yeah, look, I've got a belief system that talent has no borders, but unfortunately opportunities do. And so I come from Europe. I was born in Macedonia. I have family members there. There's a massive unemployment rate in the region. And for me, I felt that I can not only help family members with opportunity, but we could also get access to talent that was incredibly untapped. Now, this is a belief system we have regardless of geography. We have a big team in the US. We have a team in Belfast, Northern Ireland. We have a team in Macedonia. We have a team in Argentina. And so it's an approach that we've taken as we've scaled our business in order to give ourselves and our partners, the small business owners, the greatest chance of succeeding.
All right, we'll get back to our interview with Ilir Sela in just a moment. I hope if you have a question, you might just fire off an email right now. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. And the Jill on Money show is sponsored by Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth is a financial planning and management firm, and what they do at Facet Wealth is something different than many others. Facet Wealth tries to look at financial planning through your eyes, meaning they don't really care about what anyone else wants to do. They care about what you want to do. They create a goal-based financial plan for you, And you get it not from random people in a call center, but you get a dedicated financial planner, someone who holds that designation CFP, Certified Financial Planner. And why is that CFP designation so important? Because that really tells you that someone's got a more holistic approach to planning. And not only that, it also tells you that the person giving you your planning advice is someone who's a fiduciary, somebody who works in your best interest. Also part of Facet Wealth is the idea that there are no wealth or account minimums, something very different when it comes to the industry. So if you want to check out Facet Wealth, all you need to do is go to the website, facetwealth.com. You'll find flat fee, conflict-free planning at Facet Wealth. Okay. Now, one of the reasons you might want to contact Facet Wealth is maybe you want to figure out if you can go into business for yourself. And maybe you want to be a little bit like our guest this hour, Ilir Sela. He is the founder and the CEO of Slice. And you got his background in the first segment. Now, let's talk about what is this company, Slice? How do you get independent, teeny tiny little stores to come on board, little pizzerias? How do you get them to come on board? That's what we're going to talk about in this next part of our interview with Ilir Sela. Let's talk a little bit about your model. Let's just pretend that we've got Jill's Pizzeria on the Upper West Side, even though Little Italy Pizza is my neighborhood pizza place. What does it cost me? How do I sign up? Like, what's the process? And how are you getting people to learn about what you're doing?
Yeah, it's an incredibly simple process. In fact, within 24 hours, we can take a pizza shop that is traditionally offline and doesn't have a website, doesn't have online ordering, isn't part of the Slice ecosystem. Within 24 hours, that all changes very quickly. There is no sign-up fee. There is no setup fee. We bring this incredible platform forward at no cost. And then we work together with the small business to help transition consumer behavior, the orders, from telephone to digital, to online. Because when that happens, the pizzeria makes more money because of the consumer ordering more food and they order more frequently. So to do that, we charge $2.25 per order.
Wait a minute. So Jill's Pizza, I sign up with Slice and I don't pay you anything out of the gate?
Correct.
But you charge $2.25 an order. So obviously I'm not, you're not using that to send a slice of pizza, right? There has to be some amount of money for the order that would make it sense for that flat fee, right?
Correct. So our average order value is about $37. So for on average a $37 order, a small business is paying $2.25. We also do not charge for orders that are below $10. There is no fee for $10 or below. Now for the $2.25, what does the pizzeria get? Well, we take responsibility for the entire consumer journey. We handle the order, we process it, we handle the customer service, we make sure that, we upsell the consumer, we follow up with the customer so that they can come back. So we actually retarget them with marketing like push notifications, text messages, emails. So we run that entire playbook on behalf of the small business. So in essence, they're passing the cost of having to answer the phone and making a bunch of mistakes. So instead of paying for that, they're paying Slice to have a much more efficient operation and a much more valuable consumer.
So wait a second. So let's think about that. So let's say Grubhub or DoorDash, compare the models that they provide. I know that's come under a lot of scrutiny, especially during the pandemic, that there are a lot of small restaurants that say, these guys are robbing me blind. I have a local, sort of gourmet-ish store that says to me, I'm losing money on some of these orders. So what is the difference between a sort of the Grubhub DoorDash model and your model?
Yeah. And in fact, they're losing money on every order that comes from DoorDash or Grubhub. And it's by design. Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats have sold small businesses on the promise of bringing new customers. So what they're saying is sign up with DoorDash and I'm going to give you access to all these consumers that don't buy from you. And therefore, I'm going to charge you a premium for those customers. And so it's lead generation. It's no different than in the old world having, phone number on the yellow pages and paying for somebody to call that for that lead. That's the promise of third-party aggregators. Slice's model is actually much more similar to Domino's or Starbucks. Starbucks has their mobile pay app. Domino's has their online app. And we operate with the belief that the vast majority of the business for any small business or large chain needs to come from online channels, because that is the most valuable channel for both the customer and the business. And so we take a first-party approach, not a third-party approach, where we are the core partner to manage that digital transformation. It's not just we're going to send you new customers. It's that we're going to take your existing business and move it online. And that's going to give you, small business owner, a bunch of cost savings and much more rewarding, much more valuable customers.
I imagine that because, amid the pandemic, pizza sales have gone sky high. So presumably you have seen a big boost throughout 2020 for the business. Is that correct?
Definitely.
What do you think is the big challenge that lies ahead when everybody gets inoculated? It's 6 or 9 months from now, and people are like, oh, I cannot have another slice of pizza. I want to just go out. What happens to your business as that pent up demand is worked out? Does that harm you, or what does that do?
No, actually, the main reason why our business and pizza industry sort of has accelerated, part of it is definitely higher demand where consumers are staying at home and they're ordering takeout and delivery. But really, we're seeing the biggest acceleration in our business because the consumer and the small business have both realized how valuable ordering online and digital is. Because part-time employees were not necessarily showing up to answer the phone. They didn't want to put themselves at risk. Small businesses who really needed to make sure that they access all channels in order to stay afloat became much more open to the idea of working with companies like Slice to enable a technology solution. So I would say the vast majority of our acceleration has been from the consumer behavior going from calling to actually ordering on Slice. And then a slight sort of incremental lift beyond that has been just the consumer demand for pizza in general.
Amazon started with books and then became the everything store. Slice started with pizza. What's the next category? Because of the name, I feel like there are only so many slices you can get. Maybe pie? What's the next category that you see expanding into, if you do it all?
Yeah, no, we're really, really focused on the pizza industry. Obviously, Amazon is a great company, but I believe that in order to keep local thriving, and that is fundamentally what grounds us, and that's our mission, you have to be specialized. You have to specialize and solve a lot of different problems for small business owners who aren't qualified to do that themselves and independently. And so for us, we don't have any thoughts about new categories in the near future. It's all about helping this industry make that transition to digital and make sure that small businesses are here and stay afloat for a long time.
Okay, we're going to get back to Ilir Sela in just a minute. But as you hear this story, as you think about what is your great idea, maybe you want to think about how you'd finance this. How would you bootstrap this? If you've got a financial question about starting a new business, what are the risks you are willing to take, what you shouldn't be doing, why don't you give us a shout? Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life, and we do that by answering your questions. And the questions can run the gamut, whatever is, associated with a dollar sign, whatever it is that's on your mind. The good news is that both Mark and I are certified financial planners. Yes, we went through that whole rigmarole. And I used to be in the business of giving financial advice. I don't do that as my prime business. I talk to you guys and everyone else on TV and radio now. And so send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com, or if you're on our website, if you're on the jillonmoney.com website, maybe you're signing up for our free weekly newsletter. I don't know, maybe you're subscribing to one of our podcasts. Maybe you're just there because you want to poke around and read some articles. If you're there, hit the contact button and we will get to your question. Okay, so now we are going back to our interview with Ilir Sela. And what we're going to try to figure out here before we finish up is what more he wants to do with this business called Slice. He's also going to give you some specific help if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, what you should be doing. Here's the conclusion of our interview with Ilir Sela.
Now, I know what you're going to tell me, because every entrepreneur I talk to, when I ask the following question, says, no way, I'm going it alone. But you've just had a phenomenal year of growth. I'm not looking at your P&L. I'm just assuming that. And there have to be some big people knocking at the door. And so the question is, would you consider taking advantage of sort of a dumb money offer to take you out of this business or expand the business with a partner and cash out?
I am incredibly open-minded about all opportunities that come forward that can help accelerate our mission and our vision. If there's a company that comes forward, and we do get a bunch of inbound requests, but if there's the right relationship that presents itself that I know can create what I call a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario and help us accelerate our vision, I'm always really, really open-minded to that. But I don't think of it as cashing out. I don't think of myself as doing something different, 5 years from now. So it's all about our mission.
Fair enough. Let's wind the clock back for a year ago. It's the beginning of, let's pretend it's the beginning of 2020. And what did you think was going to be your biggest struggle for 2020 when the year began?
I had just hired 3 new executives to my team. And I wouldn't say a struggle, but the number one area of focus for me was, how do we now turn it's 6 of us on our leadership team. How do we go from 6 individuals to one great team? It's so interesting. COVID, I try to look for silver linings in everything that happens. And while we were presented, especially in the beginning, with some incredible challenges for both our teams and our partners, what it did was it accelerated our team formation. And it really forced us to become a great team quickly instead of 6 individuals. But that was my number one objective going into the year.
It's kind of like the sink or swim thing. Like, I know some people, they were like in young relationships, like love relationships. And it's like, well, either COVID's going to make this thing just like flower blossom and it will be the one, or you're going to learn quickly, I do not want to be with this person. So I'm glad it worked out for you guys. So when you look ahead and, you look back a little bit, because now you have had 10 years under your belt. What's been really hard for you? What do you hate doing at work?
I don't hate doing anything, but what's really, really challenging for a founder and a CEO, and look, I've never operated a company that's going to do, and we'll do over $1 billion in transactions this year.
Wow.
I've never been in that position. And when a company's growing that fast, my role has to evolve almost every 6 months. I literally need to be a different leader 6 months from now. And I was absolutely a different leader 6 months ago. Recognizing that and being okay with that and open-minded to that sounds like an easy thing, but it's not. It's incredibly challenging. And so that's the one area that I would say continues to be not necessarily a challenge, but it's a very difficult thing to accept. I look forward to the challenges of kind of evolving in 2021, but that's always been the number one sort of challenge.
If you meet with young entrepreneurs, oftentimes they have very different kind of backgrounds than you do. So let's just call a spade here, right? You're like tough guy, grew up in Staten Island, didn't go to an Ivy League school, and you've had all this great success. And a lot of people feel like in order to be a successful entrepreneur, I have to go to Harvard or Stanford and have lots of rich relatives who start the process of seeding a business. Talk to the young person or a family that's inspired by this story and tell them they don't need all of those fancy degrees. Give them a little bit of a boost here.
Whether you have a fancy degree or don't have a fancy degree, passion and learning and knowledge is really all you need. And really it starts with, for me, it started with something that was so personal and I'm so passionate about that it led me to learn everything about this one category, this one industry, and what we're trying to do. Why that is important? It's because there's going to be some real challenges. And unless you're incredibly passionate about the direction you're going in, you're going to end up giving up. So what I see is a lot of people going and doing things because it's how they think they're going to make the most money, or because they think it's what they went to school for and they're, maybe went to Harvard. But really it's all about passion and the belief that you are the best person on the planet who can solve a very particular problem and a need. And you don't need a crazy background, like a Harvard background, in order to do that. That opportunity, that's the beauty of America. That opportunity is given literally to basically everyone. Find that passion, immerse yourself in that domain, and take a very long-term approach.
Well, wasn't that great? I mean, I hope that this really got you going. Ilir Sela of Slice, thank you so much for joining us. And if he does have maybe create a little bit of excitement for you and maybe some business you want to pursue, let us know. Send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to jillonmoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. The only way we can do that, however, is if you send us your questions. Easy to do. Email askjill@jillonmoney.com. askjill@jillonmoney.com. And we want to remind you that we are presented by LifeLock. LifeLock, let us help protect your identity. All right, so let's do an email because the email box is ridiculous. Remember, if you want to skip the line, all you need to do is tell us you'll appear live with us, and Mark will do the rest. Okay, Joe writes, love your show. I will be turning 65 in August. Ooh, just a month away. My husband is 74. Joe says, I retired May 1st, 2020, and worked 32 years for the state where I live. I never contributed to Social Security because the state has its own retirement plan. Here we go. Here's the numbers. I have about $650,000 in a retirement account, about a 25% U.S. stocks, 11% international, 57% bonds, the rest in cash and other. I also have a Fidelity brokerage account, which was left to me by my mother. It has $186,000. Of that, $162,000 in individual account, $10,000 in a Roth IRA, $13,000 in a traditional IRA. Mom also left me a John Hancock annuity with $50,000 that I'm taking monthly minimum distributions. Okay. We also have 30 grand in silver. How about that? 3 small IRA accounts invested with the brokerage firm through our credit union. Basically 15, 40, about $85,000, traditional IRAs and a Roth. Monthly pension, just about $4,400. Husband takes Social Security. We've got health insurance through the state, though I will have to sign up for Medicare when I turn 65. Our house and our vehicles are paid for. We've got no debt. Our house is worth approximately $500,000, and they got $100,000 in cash. Man, this is good. I'm signing up for this. My question: I've got 3 different brokerages I'm working with: Fidelity, the credit union, and the state. I have invested conservatively with all 3 over the years, and we've done fairly well. I got a call from a different investment advisor, not a brokerage company, an investment company, wanting me to pool all my money with that firm so I can make a lot more money. How safe is that? Of course, the money needs to last us through our lives. With that being said, we have 4 children with spouses, 10 grandkids, and we'd like to leave some money for the future. Thank you for your time, Joe. Mark's like, no way, I wouldn't do it. Okay, here's the thing. You're managing your own money. You're in great shape. Now, the next question is, do I actually want someone to help me with managing my money? I'm not sure you need it. I mean, first of all, I'm not sure you need the credit union folks either, but you don't have a ton of money there. Given that you have money through your state system, taking the money out would really require you to say, I need someone to help me, provide me with financial advice, help me with my retirement planning, help me with my estate planning, and also manage the money. And that would cost money. And I'm not sure why you would do that right now, unless you actually really want that kind of help. Maybe you do, but I'm not sure I would necessarily do that. It sounds like you've got things managed perfectly. If you wanted to do anything at all, I think, maybe one thing to consider might be to talk to the folks at Fidelity and see if you want to use the Fidelity Go product. But there are lots of ways to get financial advice if you want it, but maybe you don't even want it. Maybe you're just you don't have your retirement is set. You guys have a lot of money. I'm sure that you're not even going to touch hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I don't think I would do it either. I think I'd like your allocation. I feel very comfortable with the whole game plan. Mark and I are a big thumbs down on the idea. I didn't mention the company because I don't like to necessarily, he says, especially that company. It happens to be it's an aggressive firm. And I don't really need to go out and tell you, don't do business with that firm. But that firm that you mentioned happens to be a particularly aggressive marketing firm that I don't think is where you want to go. Okay. This is from Mary. My father passed away 6 years ago. He had an IRA. The beneficiary was his trust because we had concerns about mom's drinking and spending habits. The trust has provisions that allowed us to use her life expectancy for withdrawals. Mom passed away. I'm the sole beneficiary of my father's trust. My question is, what calculation do I use going forward for distributions? This year is already taken care of. I'm wondering if future distributions are now based on my life expectancy or if there's some other rule that kicks in. Mark, is this going to be she's now subject to the new rules, right? From the Secure Act, which is you're not going to be able to stretch the IRA. You're going to have to take it out within 10 years. Is that right? Yeah, it's not just your life expectancy. You have to take the money out within 10 years of the date of death. So that's what I think has to happen. I would double check with wherever this account is custodian, but I'm pretty sure you're going to have to take this out within 10 years of the date of death. And that's how it's going to go. All right. We got one more segment this hour, so stay tuned. It's Jill on Money. Send us your questions. Ask Jill at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish up the hour, we've got a fun question from the great friend of the pod, Karen, who Mark and I used to work with, and we love Karen. And the reason why I love this message so much, Mark, is that it's just so Karen, just in that deadpan way. Here's what Karen writes. Hi, Jill. A tax professional does my taxes. But here's my question. I always get a statement saying I should review my taxes before signing. But if I understood the tax forms, I'd do them myself. So what is it I should be reviewing before signing? Or what question should I ask the CPA? Faithful listener, big fan, Karen. I think the first thing I look at is I look at the front page. All right. And the reason I do that is I just want to get a sense here. I'm going to actually, I have a happen to have a tax return right on my desk right now. Not my own. It's my mother-in-law's. So first thing I look at is I look at the stuff at the top and I make sure the social security number is right. Because, accountants make dumb mistakes too. Then I just look at the first page because I want to look at what's here? How much is here in my W-2? How much is in interest? What's in dividends? What's like any benefits or pension? And I just go down. Oh, look at the adjusted gross income. Oh, look, there's taxable income. And I read that through. And the only thing that I would really note is I would always ask the accountant if you have taxes due, are we actually, do you think this is going to be the same for next year? Are we paying any estimates? What do those look like? If anything, there's any surprise, like, wow, that's way more than I thought or not thought, then I would just have a conversation about it. But for everyone listening, if you have your taxes done, you're right. The whole point is you've got a really important and smart professional helping you. But the other aspect is if you kind of look at that front page and something pops out at you, like, wow, I don't remember making that. Or, oh my God, I think I forgot something. That's really what you're trying to flag. So I hope that helps, Karen. I love you and I miss you. Thank you for writing. It's Jill on Money. When we return, more of the program. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money, and thanks so much for joining us. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. How do we do that? Well, we do it in lots of ways. One way we do it is by bringing you guests that will inspire you. And today we are going to bring back a guest that has been on the program previously, Brent Weiss. He is the chief evangelist at Facet Wealth, and Brent's also a CFP. Just a word about Facet Wealth. They are the sponsors of this show, and Facet Wealth creates financial planning pretty much to anybody. It's a flat fee, conflict-free planning model. The advice comes from a dedicated certified financial planner, so that is very helpful rather than getting some random person in a call center. And Facet Wealth actually provides goal-based financial planning. I think that's something that's really important. There are no wealth or account minimums. So, you can check out facetwealth.com. And as you hear Brent talk, you'll probably understand that it's a very different approach than many other financial institutions. So in starting this interview, we've had Brent on the show, obviously, but I think that this was an important time just to take a deep breath, looking back to the beginning of the pandemic and what Facet was hearing from their clients. We were hearing a lot of this from you as well. So here is the first part of our interview with Brent Weiss. How did you find those first couple of months, that March, February, March, April period where people were freaking out? What did you hear from your clients?
We went on sort of, I'll say, the offensive. We got very proactive with our clients and started doing weekly webinars or video conference sessions. The interesting side of the story, Jill, is that we were I'm not going to say we were built for a global pandemic, but we actually started our company in 2016, with the idea that we're going to have a remote workforce. So we actually were designed for this, so that there was zero disruption to our business. Now, the good news is we were also set up to start doing video conference. Our clients knew, like, all of their meetings with their CFP professionals are via video conference. So the first couple of weeks when the markets, it was like a roller coaster, right? It was down 12%, up 7%. Our clients were going, what's going on? What do we do? And so we set up a weekly webinar or lunch and learn series, as we now call it, to make sure that we're addressing all the concerns of our clients. The really cool thing, though, is that all of our clients could call their dedicated CFP, right? There's no call center here. They're calling someone they know, someone they trust. And I think that personal relationship really helped people feel more confident in their and secure in their financial lives, that, hey, there's an entire team and a person that has their back. So we went on the offensive, went proactive, and made sure we were providing good advice to our clients.
So let's just go back in time a little bit, because for some of you who are listening, you may not be familiar with Facet Wealth. So I met Brent through Michael Goodman, who had told me about this company, Facet Wealth, that was doing financial planning in a different way. You were a certified financial planner working at one of these, kind of fancy-ish firms, right? You were giving customized individual financial advice. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
So then tell us a little bit about how this thing, Facet Wealth, like, what were the kernels of the idea and how did it come to fruition?
Yeah. So, very short backstory, Jill. We were talking a minute ago here about sort of how my family's doing and everything. And I grew up with my grandparents when I was younger, and got into financial planning directly out of college. The funny thing is, when I was graduating from Notre Dame, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm sure, like most people when you're 21 or 22, but they offered a personal finance course as a senior. And I remember waking up that morning. I was so excited. I don't know why. I ran over and I signed up for it, only to find out they canceled the class because 3 people, Jill, signed up.
In all of Notre Dame?
Yes, in all of Notre Dame, right? Really, in theory, Jill, really, really smart people. It's like we spent 4 years learning how to make money and not a single second learning how to manage it. Right. But the funny thing is, the 3 people, and the joke I tell is, like, the 2 other people were the teacher and the teacher's assistant, and then me. Right. But here's what happened, right? So they canceled the class. Interesting. And that led me to stumbling upon the CFP certification and the designation. I got started in a traditional wealth management role and worked in a smaller, I'll say, boutique wealth management firm in Baltimore. What I realized, there's 2 things as I went up through the ranks and all of that, is that 2 things were missing in the industry. Number one is consistent quality. The quality of advice for everyday Americans just wasn't there. And then number 2 is the cost was too high. I mean, you had to work with certain advisors. You had to have $1 million at least. There are minimums out there. You had to have, you had to make a ton of money. You had to have a ton of money. I'm going, my family, successful, middle-class, hardworking American household, in theory couldn't afford me. I said, that's no longer okay. And that led to what I believe is that everyone deserves access to the financial resources that can help them achieve a more prosperous life. I believe it's a fundamental right to have access to the tools, resources, and expert advice that you deserve, right, to improve your financial health. And Facet Wealth embodies that. It's a personification of that whole theory and the idea that we're going to make high-quality, personalized, high-quality financial life planning more affordable and accessible to everyday Americans, just like my family, because there's a lot of us out there, right? This is a fight for Main Street, not for Wall Street. And that's sort of we started that mission back in 2016.
It's interesting because we've had a lot of guests on the program, and it kind of spans the variety of financial advice you can get. And then there are these hybrid models where you have, say, Betterment, a robo-advisor that went into the advice business. You have Vanguard, the big, huge mutual fund company that now has a little advice on the side. You have Schwab that has a little advice through the Intelligent Portfolio. What's the difference between those hybrid models and what Facet does?
Yeah, so Jill, it's a great question, because I think it's hard for, I'll say, everyday Americans to really cut through all the information that's out there. It's sliced and you go, well, what's the difference between Vanguard versus Facet versus some of the larger organizations out there? The JP Morgan Chases and the Goldman Sachs are known for traditional wealth management. There's a couple important things that to really understand. It's number one, why we started this company, but really how we do this, right? So you talk about a robo-advisor. It's it's automated investment management and like advice light. So they're not really looking at all of the facets of your financial life. It is automated online. They have limited number of CFP professionals, and there's no dedicated advisor you work with. So here's what we do, though. So our whole mission here, right, as I mentioned a minute ago, Jill, is to make advice more affordable and accessible. Financial planning, right? Holistic, personalized financial planning more affordable and accessible. It's really to help clients make more informed and confident decisions in life We just happen to do that through this powerful thing that we call financial planning. There's really 5 key takeaways here. Number one is what we do at our core. We are planning first. We also manage assets for our clients, Jill, but here's the kicker. We don't charge for it. The way we charge for our services, we charge a flat, simple, transparent, subscription-based fee for financial planning that we do for our clients. Because it's based upon what do you need? What are you trying to achieve? What's the complexity of your financial landscape? And really, how can we help? And we charge a fee that is customized and personalized to you. And then, by the way, we do manage assets. We just don't charge for it. Because I'm a firm believer that the assets under management model is broken. There's no tie to how much you're paying your advisor and how much value you're getting out of that relationship. And by the way, I know this because I did it for 10 years at my first company, right? As I could charge the same client who has, let's say, 2 clients of $1 million. I could be doing very different things for them and still charging them the same amount. I said, that's wrong. It's A, it's not affordable, and B, it's wrong. And also, I'm a firm believer, Jill, that like as you save more money, as your money grows, you should keep it. That's your money. You worked hard for it. Let it work harder for you. Don't give it to me as your advisor. Pay me for the services I provide, for the value I bring. And that, I think, is a fair and transparent relationship. That's what people deserve. And if you build a company the right way for the people, right, what do everyday Americans deserve in their financial life? I think everything else falls into place.
We'll get back to our interview with Brent Weiss in just a minute. Now, maybe you'd like to check out Facet. That's great. Go to facetwealth.com. Maybe you want to go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and check out all the great content that we create. And you may want to subscribe to our sister podcast. Okay, we'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here to take the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by answering your questions. All you need to do is send us an email, askjill@jillonmoney.com, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Today, in the second hour here, we are bringing you one of our favorite guests, Brent Weiss. He is from our sponsor, Facet Wealth. And I think that a lot of people after the pandemic have been really reconsidering the way they manage their money and their financial lives. And certainly this is something that has impacted the Facet Wealth model. And so in this next part of our interview with Brent Weiss, he is the chief evangelist and certified financial planner at Facet Wealth, we are talking about how the Facet model of providing financial advice and financial planning is different. And so here is the continuation of our interview with Brent Weiss. How are you guys staying in business and doing it this way? Why do you think it's been working for you guys since you started?
Look, the whole key is this. We don't know all the answers, but I've dedicated my career, Jill, to the journey of exploration, discovery, frankly, failure to figure out how the heck do we make this thing more affordable to everyday Americans. It's a fight for Main Street, not for Wall Street at this point when it comes to access to financial planning. The key is in the technology because you have to lower the cost. I won't get into all the details, right? I ran a boutique, traditional independent wealth management firm for the first 10 years of my career before I stepped down as a partner and said, I'm going to go build something better for Main Street, for everyday Americans. The problem is the cost structure. No one ever really focused on the cost structure. The industry for decades took a revenue down model. I said, how much money can we make given the size of a portfolio? And then I'll backfill it with some services, right? What can I provide to do it? But no one ever said, how much does it actually cost to deliver like a really highly personalized service to people based upon what they need? And so we actually deconstructed the entire thing. I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm not equating myself to Elon Musk or Tesla, but think about what Tesla did when it comes to a car. They deconstructed sort of the automobile. They deconstructed the electric battery, right? How to make all of this work to make it more affordable and accessible. Now, there's a lot of other things that they do. We completely deconstructed the financial planning process and said, how do we cut out all of the costs that aren't necessary, that aren't adding value to our clients' lives? Right. And so the way we're staying in business is we've radically reduced the cost internally to our business so we can actually charge an affordable fee, because it would be ridiculous to charge somebody $100 a month or $200 a month if it's costing you $500. That's not a sustainable business model.
Right.
And so that's the key to it. And then the whole thing on top of it is like working with a dedicated CFP professional, getting truly holistic financial life planning based upon where you are in life. I tell everybody, like, I don't care where you are in life. You deserve some level of advice. It shouldn't be cookie cutter. It should be personalized to you. It should be completely unconflicted, right? So our fee model makes it that way. So you're not worried about your advisor selling you stuff. And the whole model comes together. And I think it's a pretty elegant solution.
I think so too. And I was thinking about this in terms of like the questions that we get from our listeners are often, I've got this much money in my 401k, right? Mm-hmm. Not to go too in the weeds in this, gang, but like there are some conflicts around people providing financial advice in assets that are not held within their purview. Okay. That's all you need to know, that there's like some advisors are very uncomfortable giving advice or actually physically managing the money that's held through your employer. And so then they're giving you advice and then you have to do it. And then you're not going to do it because, you just don't do it. And so it also strikes me that this is a much more reasonable solution for people who say, I want advice, but I'm not handing you the keys to my kingdom. And I don't want to be sold the idea that the day I retire, you're coming and sniffing after me and looking for all my money. So your advisors, your CFPs, and they're all CFPs, are giving advice that is in the client's best interest because they're all fiduciaries. They're doing so for any asset you hold. So are they going to also, in building a plan, say, okay, Jill, you've got, $10 million in your retirement account, I wish. And that's really heavy duty. So we want you to think about doing this. But even if you're not holding the asset, you're giving advice on it, right?
Absolutely. It's the beauty of paying someone a flat fee that has nothing to do with your assets. We have clients, look, most of our clients, Jill, they don't have $10 million in their retirement accounts. Frankly, I don't know many people that do. That's not the group I run in. But here's most of our clients, Jill, are really starting their journey to building wealth. They're younger clients. Now, by the way, we work with people that are transitioning their retirement too. Have a lot of sort of challenges coming down the pike, but they're starting their journey to wealth and they're going, how do I manage my 401k, my 403b? Or what if I want to do that myself? And I just want someone by my side to help me make more informed and confident decisions. You go, cool, great. Pay me a flat fee. And we'll talk about how to build wealth over time. But there's no conflict. And sort of you have to manage the money with me for me to give you advice.
Right. And that means also that an advisor at Facet Wealth is also going to be giving you advice on, hey, I got a new job offer. Like I'm Jill. I just got a job offer. Here's what I can do. And here's what I can't do. And that there is a relationship based on advice, and it's not about transaction and it's not about performance. I mean, you want your performance to be fine, I'm sure, but Absolutely. It's really interesting to me to consider that this is a model whose time has come, I think, it just hasn't panned out. And I'm wondering also what you think about, like, when you look at your competition, certainly you've got a lot of people out there who did what you did, right? They work in the higher end. Are you nervous that a Facet client is going to, quote unquote, graduate from Facet and go to someone else?
Not really, Jill, because I think if you look at our team, they come from all walks of life. I mean, they're from ages of 25 to 55, or I don't ask, right? They're incredibly experienced professionals with high levels of education. Some of them used to run their own businesses and do this kind of work and come over. We just said, pay us a fair freight for the work that we're doing. That's why our fee, Jill, it's not like we have one flat fee that everyone comes in and pays. It's like, well, you have to pay, $100 a month, $200 a month to work with Facet Wealth. It's completely personalized to every single one of our clients. So if someone has a more complicated financial landscape, you might be paying more, right? If you have, I'm going to exaggerate a bit here. If you have 3 businesses or like 2 side hustles and you work a job and you have 4 kids trying to retire, run a business, save for college, like that's more complicated than someone who might be 30 years old, just got engaged and trying to think about, how do I figure out, putting bank accounts together? And what about the wedding? And what do you do in a wedding in COVID-19 and before and after? Those are very different situations. And so personalizing all of that makes it very easy to meet you where you are. Again, this idea of you have to have wealth or make a ton of money to need financial advice, I think that's, I'll say horse hockey to keep it PG-13.
Nice.
For today's conversation, no matter where you are in life, we have a solution that can give you guidance, and the fee is customized to make sure that it's affordable and fits into your budget and helps you out.
Okay, 2 questions about the fee, and then we'll move on because I want to talk about like how people can actually do the things they need to do to get ahead this year. So is there a minimum fee requirement, not an asset level, but a fee? Like, do you have to pay a certain amount just to actually get in the door?
There are minimum fee requirements in terms of what that flat fee would look like in working with a planner. It does change based upon sort of what you need. There isn't sort of a free DIY service. There is a minimum fee to working with one of our CFP professionals here at Facet.
And does it change? In other words, can a CFP in Dubuque charge something slightly different than the CFP in New York City or the Bay Area?
No, not at Facet. not here.
Oh, interesting. It almost appears like they own their own little business because they operate as their own little sort of home office, but they still have to adhere to the rules that you guys, the corporate, has established, right?
We do have what we call the facet way, right? I'm not going to go into the details because I could spend weeks.
Yeah. I got you. Go to the website. Go to facetwealth.com.
The bottom line is this. There's a right way to do financial planning. There's a right way to tackle things such as, talking about cash flow, paying down debt, just getting financially organized, managing your bank balances, building credit, saving for retirement. There are right ways, in our opinion, right? The facet way to do that. Now, the real key here, the reason we have a bunch of CFPs and they're working from home is because we want to match every one of our clients with the CFP that's right for them based upon personality is good. Like, it's important. Jill, if you don't have rapport with your financial planner, it probably will make for an awkward conversation.
I totally agree with that, by the way. I totally agree with that.
And then the layer beneath that is, okay, let's make sure we're pairing you with a CFP that really understands your situation.
Okay, we'll get back to our interview with Brent in just a second, but we want to remind you that we have 2 other broadcasts every single week. Yep, 2 other broadcasts. They're 2 podcasts. One is called Jill on Money. That comes out daily. And the other is our new podcast called Eye on Money. Check out those 2 podcasts. You can just go to our website, jillonmoney.com. You can subscribe or you can follow us wherever you get podcasts. So check it out. All there at jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here to take the mystery out of your financial life. Okay, what do we have to tell you? A little business here. We are broadcasting from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Yes. We are in the midst of a conversation with our friend Brent Weiss. He's from Facet Wealth, which is the sponsor of the Jill on Money show this year. And we are absolutely delighted to have him because he always gives us a little bit of interesting feedback. We hear it from what he sees through his clients' eyes and also what he is seeing through his professional eyes as a certified financial planner. So in this part of the interview, we were wondering what lessons we can take from the pandemic, horrible times, and what we can bring to our lives today. So here's more of our interview with Brent Weiss. How do you think people need to take what just happened to all of us and apply it to their financial lives?
The number one thing I know that I've learned in 2020 for myself and for all of our clients is that we have to focus on what I'll call our financial foundation. What we realized in 2020 is that this health crisis exposed some cracks in the financial health foundation, if you will, of a lot of American households out there. Now, what is that foundation? That foundation starts with having positive cash flow, right? Like spending less than you make. Positive cash flow, discretionary income to put towards the things that matter most to you in your life and your longer term financial goals. That's like the nutrition that feeds the system, right?
Yep.
That feeds your financial body. Number 2, building an emergency fund. I think we saw a lot of people at first were like, oh, geez, maybe I didn't have enough money to get me through a 3 or 6 month period of income disruption or income loss. We've seen, record levels of unemployment. We're still at record levels of unemployment. Number 3, really hammering down or getting rid of bad debt. The biggest issue, the crisis that's coming now is a student loan crisis, right? $1.6-ish trillion in student loans. But people are like, credit card debt's a problem, personal loans, really making sure that you get rid of that bad personal debt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then number 4, which is I'm going to say is like the least sexy thing that I'll ever talk about, is making sure that you and your family are protected.
I think we need to make death and estate planning sexy again. Okay, it never was sexy, but you know what I'm saying? That I do believe that we just need to stop with this and say, I know no one wants to think about death. Well, tough luck. You're an adult. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. We need to change the way we talk about that. I really am. I'm so 100% clear that people, one thing that they can take out of this is like, hey, you know what? Make sure that your healthcare proxy is taken care of. You never know what's going to happen. Now that and for a while, people are not going to like roll their eyes and be like, oh no, because they're going to say, oh yeah, I really don't know that.
So here's actually, and if we want to talk about sort of New Year's resolutions or how to make it sound different, the way I talk about it to my clients is don't think about it as executing your will. What I ask my clients is, what matters most to you? Right? What are you trying to achieve? They go, you know what? I really want to make sure that I'm financially secure, all of that, but like I'm taking care of my kids and my family. Well, okay, you know how we do that? Let's make sure you have your estate planning documents. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be, I get it, it's not fun. But really, here's a key question I ask every one of my clients, Jill. What is the most valuable asset you have? Everybody goes, well, it's my home, it's my 401k. And I go, well, let me stop you a second. I go, it's you.
Right.
You're the most valuable asset. You're the breadwinner. You're the one generating income. You're the one taking care of your family. They go, wow, I never thought about it that way. I go, let's make sure we're taking care of you. Right. And this is little things like your employee benefits, your health insurance, disability insurance, your life insurance, making sure that you and the ones you love are protected. Heaven forbid something happens to you. I know we hate talking about that, but really important parts of your financial foundation. And then from there, we can talk about the more fun stuff of, hey, now let's talk about investing. Now let's talk about building wealth. Now let's talk about creating a legacy for generations to come. But we have to focus on that financial foundation before we should take the next step and focus on the larger wealth conversation down the road.
How do you, I mean, once you've gotten people to sort of manage that financial foundation, or at least pinky swear with their advisor that they're going to do that, okay? Once you get them to do that, what's the best way to try to stick to it? I think that that's where people find themselves at a loss. Like, okay, it's January. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to like walk more, eat better. I'm ready to manage my financial life. Now, let's go fast forward. It's 5-6 months from now. And hopefully, God willing, the world has opened up. And now it's like, I want to travel. I want to do. I want to spend. I want to. And how do you get people to stay on track?
Here's what I know. Improving your overall financial health is about a healthier lifestyle. It takes really, think about really small changes you can make. It's the KISS. Now I changed the KISS acronym, but like keep it super small. Like don't go out there and go, you know what? I'm going to change my financial life in 2021. Because you're probably, first of all, it's not very clear. Right? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, how do you know you're there? I go, find your why and you'll find your way. Right? Really understand, why do I want to achieve certain goals in my life? What does it mean to me? What does money help me do in life? And then from there, go, okay, now I understand what's most important to me. Let me try 3 goals. Don't have 10 or 15. You'll never achieve.
Right. I mean, I think that you're right. Making it measurable and making it attainable and, you know, all of those things. I mean, listen, as someone who was also trained as a CFP like you, I also really do believe that when you work with somebody, I think you're more likely to actually reach the goal and keep the resolution. I really do, because, you know, it's hard to do it on your own. It just is.
It is. Well, I call myself a commitment coach. Remember, part of our job as a financial planner is not just to give you really good advice and based upon what you want to achieve in your goals and help you make more informed and confident decisions. It's to help you meet the commitments that you make to yourself. As a planner, you're not making a commitment to me, right? You're paying me to do a job for you. You're making a commitment to something that you believe in your life. And so my job is then to help you commit, right? Maintain your commitment to that. And so what I do for a lot of my clients, we may not meet every single month. Frankly, no one wants to talk to me every single month. I joke with my clients, like, look, I'd love to talk to you every single week or every single month, but you probably don't want to meet with your financial planner that often. So we typically, every 3 months or 6 months, we're doing a video conference session to check in. But sometimes for my clients, I'll send them an email once a month and say, hey, Jill, how are you doing on your updated budget? How are you doing on paying down some of that debt? How are you doing on your saving for that new home that you want to buy? That actually works.
We'll get back to our interview with Brent Weiss in just a minute. Hey, during the break, I have an idea. Go to the JillOnMoney.com website, and there you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Free weekly newsletter, babe. It's all right there. JillOnMoney.com. You can also check out all the other great stuff that's on the website. We'll be right back.
If you've missed any part of the show or want to check out a past show, go to JillOnMoney.com for more great personal finance content.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are about to conclude our interview with Brent Weiss. But before we do, just want to remind you that we are here to answer your questions. So just send us an email with any financial question you might have. Maybe you're thinking about a new business. Maybe you're thinking about how you're going to kickstart your retirement planning. Maybe you're considering 2 different jobs. It's a hot labor market. Send us an email. Ask Jill at JillOnMoney.com. Or you can go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and we've got a contact button. It's right there, right on the website. So check it out, JillOnMoney.com. And while you're on that website, you can, of course, do all sorts of things like subscribe to our sister broadcast, the Jill on Money podcast and the Eye on Money podcast. So check it out. Everything is at Jill on Money. Just go there. It's your resource. All right, let's get back and conclude our interview with Brent Weiss. He's the chief evangelist and a financial planner, certified financial planner at Facet Wealth. In this part of the interview, we are going to talk about how important advisors can be in a person's life. Here's the conclusion of our interview with Brent. What is the role of an advisor trying to get someone back on track after they've fallen off the wagon?
I think the first thing is you have to be there by their side and not judge them, right? I always say this is a no judgment zone. The 2 things we're never taught in life are money and relationships, yet money and relationships touch every part of our lives. So this isn't easy. I actually talked to someone yesterday who said, I have so much anxiety and stress and embarrassment over my money because I don't know how to do this thing. I said, well, first of all, welcome to being human.
That's exactly right.
Right. So number one is we're not here to judge anybody. No judgment zone. Look, I've made mistakes in my financial life. I just happen to be a CFP. So I should know better. So I can judge myself, but we don't judge our clients. Number one, that's what it is. Number 2 is understanding the cause of the issue, right? What's the root cause? How did we get to where we are today? What does money mean to us? What are the things that are keeping us from achieving some of those goals? And then frankly saying, hey, maybe it wasn't the right goal. Maybe we set the wrong goal, or maybe it wasn't realistic given the things that we had. I mean,
give me an example of that. Give me an example, because I think that's important to say that, you set out a goal and maybe something has happened in your real life or something, or just it hasn't worked. So give an example of that.
Well, I think the primary thing I can share with you is a lot of times is there's this social media financial life thing that we all see, right? So some people go out there and say, hey, you know what? I want to buy a house. Or I want to buy a new car, and they want to buy an expensive, whatever it is. And we go, okay, that sounds good. That's the goal that we're going to set. Let's go try to achieve it. And then all of a sudden they realize that they meet the love of their life, or they're getting engaged, or they're getting married, or COVID-19 hits, and they go, hey, you know what? Maybe that wasn't the most important thing. Maybe I value flexibility. So maybe buying a house right now isn't the right thing for me. I've actually had several clients say that. It's like, oh, I want to buy a house. I go, you know what? Hey, life is changing very quickly. Life is changing rapidly. I think one of the things that we get wrong, Jill, in financial planning, it's almost like here's the tablet handed down from the top of the mountain, right? These are your goals, stick to them or else. It really should be more of this iterative, ongoing, living, breathing thing that people have. If you build a flexible, adaptive financial plan, or really financial life, you can make changes. And by the way, if you don't achieve a goal, it's okay to miss the mark on some of these.
I want to have a conversation with you about this. Let's use the analogy of my Apple Watch. You're very into your fitness. I know this.
Yes.
Right?
It's near and dear to my heart.
Okay. So when you set a goal of a move goal on your Apple Watch, or you, Brent, set some goal about here's how much I'm going to work out or whatever. How do you manage being a certain type of person when you don't hit that goal every day? For example, I changed my move goal, and now I'm not hitting it every day, and it's driving me crazy. What should I do? Because it's really the same thing as setting a financial goal, and I may not be able to achieve it necessarily. And how do I manage that emotionally? What's the suggestion?
Well, I think the first thing is step back and go, okay, why did I set this higher goal? What does that goal actually mean? Is it the right goal? Number one, okay, so I want to move more. Great. Okay, I didn't achieve it. Well, how do you take smaller steps towards it? Literally smaller steps towards it. I don't have a Fit, but I have a Whoop strap. So it doesn't track my steps. I actually don't care about my steps. It's a strain thing versus a step thing. right, is saying, okay, maybe the bar was too high. Like if I want to go, and Jill, you have to correct me on this. Like maybe you want to get to 20,000 steps a day. I don't even know what that means, right? 20,000 steps. And let's say you were going from 15,000 to 20,000. You're like, geez, why didn't I get to 20,000? Like, well, can I get to 16,000? And then can I consistently get to 17,000? This goes back to the conversation we had about resolutions. Like,
right.
It comes down to habits. Like, how do we create healthier habits personally, professionally, financially, and gradually improve them over time? If we try to make these, like the new year, new you thing, if we try to achieve it overnight, we're never going to do it. Now, it also comes down to understanding who you are. Like, I'm the kind of person, I'll set a really lofty goal. And if I don't achieve it, I'm like, okay, cool. That was a pretty big goal. I'm okay with that. But some people need to say, you know what, instead of going from 15,000 steps to 20, maybe I go 15,000 and my new goal is 16,000. So when I achieve it, I feel really good. There are other people who go, you know what, I'm going to push myself and 20,000 is the goal, but I'm also not going to beat myself up if I only get to 17,000.
I like that idea that it does have to be personalized. And you know what, like, screw me. I have to like get okay with it. And it's the same thing with your financial life. Like some people will say to me, like they'll get on the air with us and they'll say, I want to retire when I'm 59. And I'll say, I don't think you can. You know, you may want to, but I don't think you can. I can't give you the security that you'll get there safely or that getting there, then retiring. I can't tell you that everything's going to be just fine when you're 82. We have to just get right with that. Like acceptance is a part of this. Thanks to Brent Weiss for showing up yet again. If you want to check out Facet Wealth, you can just go to their website, facetwealth.com. And if you want to check out our website, I encourage you to do that, jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. Before we finish the program, we want to remind you that you can send us your financial questions, your investment questions, your retirement questions, your tax questions. Just hit us up. Our email address, askjill@jillonmoney.com, and our website, jillonmoney.com. We've got a beautiful contact button right there. All right. If you do hit that contact button, by the way, and you want to come on the air, just say, I want to come on the air. Mark does the rest. All right, here's our last question from Mark, not our Mark, a different Mark. Recent listener and enjoy tapping into your podcast during my mornings. By the way, gang, jillonmoney.com. Just go into the front door. We've got 2 podcasts now, not 1, but 2. Okay. Mark and his wife have a beefed up 6-month emergency fund. We've got no debt. We contribute 15% to retirement between 401k and Roth IRAs. Our household income, $150,000. We have about $35,000 beyond what is needed in our emergency fund. We would like to save for a bigger house in the next 1 to 2 years. We're torn about what to do with those funds in the meantime. Oh, I have a hard time with those extra funds sitting and doing nothing. I know, but if it's 1 year, then definitely have it sit and do nothing. But if it's like more like 3 years, then I guess you could sort of put it in a CD ladder, a short-term bond fund. Go to depositaccounts.com and check that out. See if you've got some better options. But Mark, it's hard when it's short-term money, right? It's a bummer, but I don't know. Can you come up with a better idea than that? That's how I feel. I mean, it's like if you need it if you say 1 to 2 years and then all of a sudden it's really 8 months, you're going to be very unhappy if that money is invested and then all of a sudden it gets crushed, you know? So that I really would rather you be careful with that. All right, that is the show. And when we close out the show, we like to remind you to do something nice for somebody else today. We also want to tell you our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. And if you wouldn't mind, if you get a chance, hop onto the website, jillonmoney.com, and you can bookmark it. You can send us your questions from there. And please, why don't you just become a subscriber to our 2 podcasts? Not 1, but 2. One is called Jill on Money, just like this show. The other is called Eye on Money. Go check out the new podcast. You'll hear Mark, and he is fantastic. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.